Welcome back, America. Over the last couple of days, I've been watching this man's tweets and his polling. And if you ever needed a dose of common sense after a bad hangover from a bad election night, this man can deliver it. Whether it's what socialism really means to young people or what the Republicans should have been talking about before the election, Scott Rasmussen nailed it with all of his great research. He's the president of RMG Research. He's a great friend and one of America's greatest pollsters and political thinkers. And he joins us right now. Scott, good to have you on the show.
Always great to be with you, John. Lots of interesting things happening this week.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, we got a socialist running the capitalist capital of the world. We got Republicans getting swamped, and I don't know what to make of it, but you do. And I want to start off because I think there may be some...
I want to put a little correction. I'm from Texas, yes, and there are more bankers in Texas than New York. So just let's get rid of this stuff.
You're right. And I have a funny feeling Dallas will be the new financial capital of the world soon, after the great migration from the north. You are right. All right, let me get down to brass tacks because people go, all right, what were these young kids thinking? We sent them to school and they went like crazy and they love this socialist. Socialism, your great polling today showed, means a little something different than it means to my generation, to these young kids, young voters. Tell us what you found.
Yeah, look, a third of voters say they have a favorable opinion of socialism. It's been that way for a very, very long time. Most of the people who say they like socialism, though, say it has nothing to do with sending more money and power to government. In fact, most of them say we'd like to have less government control of the economy, a little more free market activity. In fact, 71% of the people who say they like socialism, well, they think free markets are the best way to run an economy. It's the meaning of words change. John, you know, you and I are at a point in life, Amanda will get there someday, when the word middle-aged means something than it did 20 years ago. And that's what's happened with socialism. And the message here is if you're trying to complain about what you think of as socialism, you're not reaching people with that label. You really need to talk a little further.
All right, I want to ask whether the socialist that these young people voted for on Tuesday, is Mamdani going to be that socialist? Is he going to be our more Fidel Castro communist socialist?
Yeah, well, he wants to be the more Fidel Castro communist. One other point about the election, and let's be clear, it was a very good night for the Democrats on Tuesday, but these are low turnout elections. Mamdani won only 1 out of 9 residents of New York City. Only 1 out of 9 people who lived there voted for him. These are low turnout elections. We can't read too much into it. What he wants to do is something different than I think what a lot of those folks voted for. But we'll see. You know, the real way that you control a local government is how people react afterwards. The head of the police department resigned today. He's Jewish. We're going to see how business leaders respond, and we'll see what the city looks like. And it'll break my heart if the city isn't what it is today, because I still believe it's the greatest city in the world.
Well, and Scott, the 2 gubernatorial races that Republicans were eyeing, one was in New Jersey, which is a blue state. I know that it has been trending a little bit redder, but it's still a blue state. And then in Virginia tends to flip-flop back and forth between Republican and Democrat, and this time around it was due for a Democrat cycle. So was it as dire of a night for Republicans as it seems a lot of people are making it out to be?
No, I don't want to downplay the fact the Democrats had a good night. The margins were bigger in New Jersey than anybody expected, certainly bigger than the polling and the polling averages showed. The numbers in Virginia were less surprising. What we're seeing everywhere at this point in time is Democrats are more fired up. They're more enthusiastic about getting to the polls. And that's what happens when Republicans control the White House. The party that's out of power always has more energy. In fact, our latest generic ballot polling showed the Republicans up by a point just among all registered voters. But once we put in the filter for their enthusiasm, the Democrats had a 3-point advantage. That's what we saw on Tuesday night. I don't think it changes anything about the midterms because the answer is what James Carville said all those years ago. It's the economy, stupid. If the economy is doing well next year, if people perceive it's doing well, then the Republicans will be in better shape.
Yeah, I mean, the economy and economic confidence. And I know that's something you've talked about. You know, egg prices have gone down, gas prices, energy prices in general have gone down.
Coffee prices.
Wegovy prices, Ozempic prices, everything's getting a little skinnier, but the American people, as far as your polling, they're not feeling it yet. What does it take to feel it, and why aren't they?
Well, actually, something else is going on right now. We released some numbers this morning showing that only 26% of voters think their personal finances are getting better. 39% say they're getting worse. Those are really bad numbers. But what's really shocking about them is how drastically they've changed in the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, and we do this, we're tracking it every couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, 31% said their finances were getting better, 31% worse, dead even, and now we're at really bad numbers. Why? Well, because people are beginning to feel the impact of the government shutdown. 44% now believe that, or say they have felt some impact from it. That's twice what it was 2 weeks ago. 16% are saying they felt a lot of impact. That's double 2 weeks ago. That's triple just a month ago. So we're seeing a situation where people are beginning to get nervous about their finances. And look, if I want to put it in perspective, if you went back to just before Donald Trump won the 2024 election, people had been feeling bad about the Biden economy almost throughout his entire term. Right before the President Trump won that election, people were saying the economy was in terrible shape, their personal finances were in better shape. When Donald Trump won, pessimism declined. It kept declining for the last several months, almost steadily for the last year, until the last 2 weeks. All of a sudden, all of those gains have disappeared. The way people are feeling about their finances today is the way they felt about them under Joe Biden, and that's a bad sign.
So let me ask you, was that maybe some of the Democrat strategy here, which was to take off the shine of an improving economy? I mean, statistically, the economy is better than it was a year ago. That maybe the play here? Shutting down the government just makes everybody a little bit more dour?
You know, I love it when people ask and talk about congressional strategy because I don't think they're that good. But what the strategy was, I don't really understand, but that is the result. And what we're going to be looking to see, the most important thing going forward, is what happens when the government reopens. Will the pessimism diminish? Will we get back to the track we were on before when people were feeling a little better about their finances? Or will these bad vibes linger? If these bad vibes linger, if people continue to feel bad about their personal finances, it's going to be a very ugly midterm for the Republicans. In fact, and look, I'm not an economist. I don't know what's going to be like a year from today. But if the numbers a year from today, the way people feel about their finances are like they are right now, not only would the Democrats win the House, they would have a chance to win the Senate.
Goodness gracious. Scott, I've seen enough polling to be disturbed by the numbers of folks who will excuse political violence. It's by no means a majority, but it is a sizable group, just enough to scare me. When it comes to Jay Jones's electoral victory on Tuesday, that made it even more frightening. The fact that someone who, made these murderous comments about someone's children. Do you see that trending in a better direction, or do you think it's going to get even worse?
Well, I certainly hope it doesn't get any worse. It is a very dangerous direction right now. We live in a time where partisanship is out of control. If I tell a Democrat that Republicans believe water is wet, they will disagree. The reverse is also true. And unfortunately, it is, it used to be there was partisanship and you disagreed, but there were things you just couldn't accept. We now seem to have crossed another very disturbing line.
Yeah, that's really true. Scott, real quickly, what effect could a single mayor in a single big city of America have on the conversation in America if Mamdani goes the way he talked on Tuesday night? Not the guy that campaigned, but the way he talked Tuesday night, or the way that the Democratic Socialists of America wrote in their paper that he promised them, a document that we made public earlier this week. If he goes to that Cuba-style socialism, could he have an impact outside of the Big Apple?
Absolutely. I think you will see him as a regular feature in campaign ads next year. I watched when he changed his tone for that victory speech. I thought I was watching the first Republican commercial of the midterm elections. The Republicans will do everything they can to elevate him as the face and the policy force in the Democratic Party. Something else is going on within that party. And, we've talked about this before, John. There's the battle. There's the struggle between the traditional Democrats and the AOC Bernie wing of the party. And the two sides have been butting heads for a long time. We just asked about Mamdani and thinking about 28, what kind of a president what type of a candidate should the Democrats nominate? The AOC wing of the party wants somebody who's like Mamdani. They think that's their best chance to win. The other Democrats are saying, no, we need somebody who's exactly not like Mamdani. So there's going to be a struggle within the Democratic Party, as well as the New York mayor being a unifying force for the Republicans.
Yeah, that's a great point. Civil war in politics always makes for a difficult election unity. Scott Rasmussen, as always, you always deliver the goods. It's always a great honor to have you on the show, and we always come away smarter. Thanks for being with us, buddy.
Thank you.
One of these days, we're just going to talk sports the whole thing. He's also just unbelievable. I mean, he was one of the helping founding partners of ESPN. He's such an amazing guy. All right, next, Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orbán, one of the great conservatives. Europe is set to meet with President Trump tomorrow. What will they talk about? We'll answer that right after this quick break. Hey, America, the FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud on the rise called home title theft, and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on a single document, use a fake notary stamp, then file it with the county, and just like that, boom, they're on record as owning your home. Using your ownership, they then take out loans against your equity or even sell your property, and you're not going to know about it until you get a foreclosure or collection notice in the mail, and that's not going to be a good moment. That's why I partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can protect your equity and find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code JTN at HometitleLock.com. You'll get a free title history report and a free trial. Their $1 million triple lock protection. That's a great deal. $1 million to protect your home. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title records, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud occurs, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Find out why I trust Home Title Lock. Protect yourself like I did. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. Go to HometitleLock.com and use that promo code JTN. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code JTN.